Hello, good morning, everyone. Episode 21. Thank you for being here. Hope things are good. Um, been working with the sunlight a lot and getting a lot of energy from just getting able to be more and more silent with the sun. And there's a way to access silence so deeply that when you're with the sun, that you're in communication with the sun, that you're talking to the sun's talking to you. It's not very normal experience. It's pretty psychedelic. I get that that sounds like it's being made up, but once it happens to you, you understand. It's the same with the Earth Mother. Once she talks to you, and then that the door's open forever, and you never close that door. Doesn't mean you'll be sane, it doesn't mean you'll be okay, but if you're willing to go to her and hear her words, or listen to the sun and allow it to communicate to you, then they will both lend you tremendous amounts of energy, and your heart will open incomprehensible amounts. Like you'll feel completely changed and rearranged by these two very powerful energies that you are, that I am. We are luminous beings, so we come from the sun, and the earth is a luminous being too. So she's manifested it into a physical matter form for us to physically manifest as well, so that we can have this experience. But we're all beings of geometric intensity. So there's a divine relationship, and we are moving from our junior into our senior into our divine. It's a process. It takes a lot of intent to move into the divine. Um, you could get into like intense sorcery or something and still stay in your junior masculine or your junior feminine. But to move into the divine state of union, where you are a balanced being, is not only just practicing sorcery, but is practicing um, holistic health and balance for all, right? Because the old sorcerers weren't balanced creatures, but they were super powerful, capable. Um, the new seers are affectionate and loving, but they're very private. And now we're moving into a different cycle, where um, the known is being replaced by the unknown. The tonal of our times is being flooded by the Nawal. And so we're moving from domestication to abstraction. So if you're a slave in your mind, you're going to have a hard time coming to terms with the amount of energy that's about to pour in. But it's going to be a long process. And there's nothing to be attached to. Otherwise, the expectations will lead to confusion. So any way that you can get silent will be helpful. But at the same time, it's not something to force, because then that just leads to frustration. So the key is to find harmony and peace, so that silence naturally happens. If you're really willing to recapitulate, and you're really willing to draw your luminosity back from previous memories, it will completely change your life. People that avoid the recapitulation avoid the shadow. They avoid their ego. They avoid looking at their ego. The recapitulation reveals, through painstaking process, how unconscious you've been your whole life. It exposes the disconnect from source, or the way in which the hypnosis has limited you, and it's very disturbing. And so, but the recapitulation gives you so much energy that the disturbing part isn't a problem. It's intense. So when you're really recapitulating, you're literally puking out your past. You feel like you're puking. Some people even get a bowl out, or they go to the earth and dig a hole, and they just energetically sit there and purify, puking out acidity. We have all of this. So once you reach that layer and you understand what I'm talking about, you'll be doing the same thing. It sounds confronting, and it is, but there's nothing better than finally getting all that stuff out of you. So, however you need to purify, I use the sunlight. I go to the earth mother. I go to the, I put myself in situations where I will be uh, cared for and opened up, but it's not easy. I have to, there's a little extra something you got to have to want to evolve, right? Because we know that if we evolve, that the challenges increase, and so we all want to stay put. Unfortunately, that's not an option. You either lose energy or gain energy, and it takes just as much energy to feel good as it does to feel bad. You have to work just as hard. You have to sabotage your life as much as you. It takes as much energy to sabotage your life as it does to bring it into balance. In fact, I would say it even takes more energy to sabotage your life. So it's just a matter of going back to the things that you think are needed. Like, you think you have to be this certain kind of person in order to be who you are, and you're attached to that. And that makes you limited in what your options are, right? So that's what I kind of talk about a lot, is that even if something goes away in my life, I don't like try to replace it, or like, oh, I just try to live without the things so that I'm used to it. Like, oh, I don't have that right now. So what do I do? Oh, actually, I don't need that. Like, even basic things like forks and spoons, and like, okay, I'll just, be creative. And it sounds weird, but the more you're open to anything, then the adventure is always incredible. There's nothing to not do. And then there's everything to not do, right? So it's the not doings and the activity of the infinite activities that are available through the unbinding. This is all perceptual based. This is all energetically tied to your perception. Now, it doesn't mean your perception isn't something that's all within your mind. Perception is not a mental thing. Our mind is a beautiful part of assembling perception or assembling realities. But you have to understand there's a luminous part to us. We are luminous beings. We are not just these physical creatures. And if you could perceive the luminosity, then you would perceive the assemblage point, then you would perceive the interference, and you would perceive our predicament. And you would become a powerful person just through the witnessing of it. So, the known and the unknown tend to be the most, it's just a simple thing. People speak of the unknown as if it's the known. They say, oh, yeah, we know this and we know that. But we don't know anything. We only know what we've been told. And now that we're finding out, and some of us found this out a long time ago, that they're lying about the known. And that's what keeps us out of our power, is that we're being lied to. So because our intuition tells us one thing, and then we're being told something more complicated than that. And so our simplicity is our power. And so the complexity of the ego is based on the complexity of the pressure that's put on us. And this doesn't matter if you go to school or not. It has nothing to do with that. The indoctrination is energetic. The pressure of our perception is based on the collective pressure of the whole. So everyone that's maintaining the illusion makes it, the more people maintain it, the more difficult it is to unbind from it. This is why shamans get up in the middle of the night to do things, to move their perception when the rest of the world is asleep. Because when they're asleep, their perception is moving to other places where more things are possible. Most people aren't making use of that. They don't know how to use lucid dreaming in order to evolve. If they did, then it would be even better for, so like, I support all the drug use and all the stuff, because it moves our perception collectively. It's not ideal, but anything that unbinds us is necessary. And for what our task is, and our task is beautiful. The dark sea of awareness has given us a purpose. We each have an individual task. It's really perceived as a dharma, right, as what you're here to do. But once you reach the dark sea and you're contacted by it, touched by it, healed by it, you start to understand what it is your purpose is. It becomes really simple. It's to return to the dark sea intact without losing your memory. The dark sea is seeking our return, and anyone that reaches the dark sea is told the same thing to tell the others. Because even though we are all one, we've individuated and we've forgotten that we're one. And so the collapse that we're heading into is that the fear of this world is shrinking the known, which we call the tonal. So the Toltecs refer to shrinking the tonal to make room for the nawal, and that's on a personal, individual basis. That's what a sorcerer does. They clean up their world so cleanly. So they make such, they're so powerful that they sweep it completely clean, and then there's nothing there, and so only the abstract can completely come in. But if you were to do this without knowing what you're doing and to try to do this in a reckless way, then you would end up in a mental ward, because it's no joke for the abstract energy to show up. But and so people could say, well, you shouldn't be talking about this shit then. It's like, yeah, I get that. I understand what you're saying. But the reality is people can only hear what they can hear. When you talk to people that aren't ready for things, it's just like they just there's something occupying their mind space to make sure they can't receive what you're transmitting. Transmission, a mission of trance. We are tranced out. We are hypnotized. We are in a trance. We're on a mission. Transmission. So that's all this is. I'm just offering transmission here. Everything's transmission. So how do we get so alert? How do we empty our field so that nothing's interfering with our ability to receive these transmissions? What would it take? There's all kinds of cool tricks, but what's it going to be for you? You're not going to do the same thing as somebody who's, if you have kids and a husband and a life and all these different things to deal with, your process can be different than somebody who's like an autistic computer dork who sits on his computer at home all night and tries to convince people how amazing he is. There's just, everybody's got a different journey to figure out how they're going to become whole. It's only the ones that admit that they're not whole that have the capacity to become whole. Eventually they may be able to admit it, but most people think the world's so dense that if they find something cool and discover a power, then they assume that they're super rare and everyone's stupid except for them, and they go into this cult push of sorts. It's just archetypical. It happens to everybody that unless they've gone through a particular training to show them the pitfalls of that. And that's why I'm fortunate. I saw my teachers go through this stage, and so now I'm watching people do it online. But I mean, I'm not really watching anything anymore because I just can't stomach anything. It's everything's become so obvious. And there's just not much to talk about. I'm only going to be discussing really abstract concepts because we're moving into the abstract. To sort of harp on anything else right now is heavy to me, and I'm perceiving the light side of it. It doesn't mean I'm not willing to talk about the out of balance things. I'm willing to talk about anything, but to me, we have to become abstract in order to have a healthy, holistic process while the perception of the planet moves. So the assemblage point of the Earth is moving. And this happens every cycle. We're in a new cycle. It may take 1,000 years for this cycle. I don't know how this works, you guys. I just know and feel it as do others that I work with, and we're just verifying it off of each other, off of our own seeing and our knowing. our willingness to be in the unknown, our willingness to accept that these things are not known, and that the veil that was making the known solid is going away, and that means the unknown is going to flood in and redirect and help us realize that a lot of what we thought we knew, we didn't know. And that's the tonal and the nawal, right? So we want to make room for magic. Let's do that. Let's make as much room for magic in our lives as possible. That simple concept will have a huge effect on the rest of the world. Any single individual that makes room for magic is making a massive contribution. If you move beyond that and you start to make even more unique contributions with your capacity to perceive rare things, the support that comes in, you guys, is so incredible. So be willing to get outside of your comfort zone. Face the monsters that you've created in your life so that you realize that they weren't scary. And then you'll feel empowered instead of disempowered. So I know that's a difficult recipe, right? You don't want to hear that. You want to be told that you can just live on the land and grow fruit and everything's just gonna work out. That's cool. Go do that and see what happens. Right? That would work if you had already figured your magnetism out and you'd already faced all your tyrants and you'd already overcome the self. You've become a master of the martial arts. You've become, able to ground and able to let go of the ground and become light and practice sky gazing and travel. But everyone wants to skip to the cool part. And I'm telling you, you don't want to do that, because then you'll be into something way in over your head. It's way too much energy, and then you spend the rest of your life trying to integrate, which is really confusing, actually, especially if you don't have somebody to help you that doesn't know what they're doing. So there are integration. There are people that are really helpful with integration. I can help. Others can help. Um, the sooner you admit that you are out of balance and that you need to deal with the holes in your consciousness, the sooner we can work on it. I have tons of holes in my consciousness, so I have people try to tell me they don't have any, and you know, it's like, Jesus, that you're insane, and that's. But then I'm being called insane by them for not following them or not believing what or it's a real it's and I'm happy. I'm okay. I'll be insane. Like, whatever. I don't. You guys can say whatever you want. Um, the truth of the matter is we're all absolutely batshit crazy. The ones that can admit that can make huge, incredible contributions. The ones that cannot admit that will always be stuck in the known, in the rational, in the practical, in the non-magical. They may get a touch of it, through love or children or something, but to move into the abstract is honestly, there's nothing else to do, and everything else is a lie. But I'm caught in it too. I'm caught in the lie. I'm making my pilgrimage toward the truth. I am under hypnosis. I am aware of it. I'm extracting myself from it. I am seeking ego death. Not reckless ego death, but intentional, conscious, mature shadow work. There's always somebody bigger, better, and stronger, you guys. There's always somebody with a bigger penis and a hotter body and a more intelligent mind and a more lucid state of perception. There's no reason to compete with anyone. And all of that's not true anyways, because that body or that body part, none of that, who cares what size or shape or what it looks like on a screen or how much makeup, or none of that matters, you guys. It has to do with the light in your eyes. It has to do with the fucking the the luminosity, you know. Everything else is a distraction. The most beautiful people are the ones that um, just aren't tripping on how they look in the mirror. They're just they're looking at the world, they're seeing how beautiful it is, and they're not focused on the self. They're moving away from self-importance. They're in love and appreciate art. In whether it's for me, I'm a dreaming artist. My other friends are hard. They're artists with in the physical world, producing physical art. It's amazing. I'm a writer, so my books are going to change people's perception of things. I'm going to be writing a lot of books in time. But I'm recapitulating first so that I can channel something truly authentic. Carlos Castaneda threw away hundreds of manuscripts because he didn't have what Don Juan referred to as a detached, abstract. Sorry, I shouldn't try to. I don't remember the words, but he said there's a very specific quality that his manuscripts would have to be part of the infinite, something that the dark sea of awareness would bless, basically. And so I'm at peace with that. I don't need to ever write a book, but I will because I'm being guided to, not because I want to. And that's why it's going to be so unique and successful. And it's not a big deal. I'm not I've known all this was coming, so it's not like I'm in extreme gratitude or anything. The gratitude is pouring over me all the time. Gratitude is what makes my existence lucid. It's because I'm so thankful. Because now I don't have requests. I am just thankful that I'm here. Um, that unlocks it, you guys. It really does. It starts there. It doesn't matter how much sorcery you know. It's when the gratitude shows up that the guidance happens. And without the guidance, sorcery is just a dead end street. Just like being a normal, unconscious, person that doesn't want in. Of course, I'd rather learn sorcery than, spend my whole life doing the same thing over and over and not learning. But sorcery is more dangerous, and therefore, if you're going to go about it in a helter skelter way, and which I did, I was invited into it that way. That's pretty reckless. But it's all stories are equal, and everyone's experience and journey is unique. And so when I get called into certain situations, it's not necessarily because I'm attached to outcomes. It's just that spirit sent me in to speak or say something so that others might receive something that will eventually help them realize something later. So I'm just get called in to plant seeds sometimes, or at least what's kind of what I'm seeing is likely why. But you never know. I just follow my instincts, and yeah, there are times though where I'm probably being led by my ego, and I'm being tricked in that sense too. And I will learn about that in time as I get more and more clear and less attached. So even though I have a lot of detachment, I still have attachment. Even though I've gone into the unknown, I'm still isolated to the known, you guys. So so are you, and it's okay. It's beautiful. Everything we're doing is really profound, no matter what, because we're feeling pain, we're feeling love, and all in between and combined, and that's profound. Just the fact you're here is a miracle. You are an absolute creation. You're the pinnacle of creation, and therefore, once you understand what the Toltecs have discovered, it all ties together, and then the fear goes away because the excitement takes over, the potential, the capacity that the realization that you can do something so unique and incredible. And it doesn't have to be extreme sorcery, you guys. It could be just becoming whole facing your shadow, becoming whole, and then finding a partner who is whole and having incredible life together where 1 year feels like a lifetime because of how magical it is. You could do that also differently. You could join an ashram for 1 year and have even a more beautiful experience than if you were to have a partner. Um, it's okay to interact with large groups and communes and even cults once you realize that, that's just part of the deal. So you can find an ashram or I could go train for a year in an Uchideshi program where you just train in martial arts for a year every day. You don't have a job, whatever. I don't know how people pull that off, right? Trust fund kids or whatever, but manifest that. Like, I know that if I want to do that, the money will come because I'll be supported and my kids will be provided for. Everything will work out somehow. It may not be the way I wanted. It may have to happen in a way that's like confronting or intense, and it may be confronting for my kids. And like, who knows? I'm not, life isn't easy. I can't enable my children or Rachel by, you know, always. Everything we do here has to be guided, otherwise it becomes an unconscious act. So as much as I don't want my kids or, certain people in my life to have to face certain things, I want to help them, but it can end up being enabling them, and then it backfires. It's actually disrespectful, but it's really tricky when you care for people and you don't want them to, you know, for their nervous system to go out of balance. And that's what happens during the lessons. They're difficult. They challenge you. They show you where your weaknesses are so that you're aware of yourself. But we take it real personal and we think, oh my God, I need to protect myself. And especially spiritual people get really extreme. And then they make the Matrix out to be a much scarier thing than it is. It's getting scary as fuck with all these zombies now in mass and stuff. But regardless, we want to see the beauty and the magic in others. Therefore, we don't want to take the power away from them. So even at work, like somebody's struggling to do something, it's like, I can do it for you, but do you really want to hand me the power, or do you want to figure it out? And I'll say shit like that to people, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, okay, I'll do it. And I do it, and they're just like, what? I'm happy to take the power from all of you. Anytime you don't want to do something, I'll do it. I'm your huckleberry. But that's because I was around people that did that when I couldn't. I saw this action, this power, this capacity, and I was changed and affected by it. It's fearlessness. It's when you've no longer are limited by the first enemy of man, which is fear. The second enemy of man is clarity. The third enemy of man is power. And the fourth enemy of man is old age. Most people have yet to come to terms with the first enemy and how to maneuver around it. And so they lack clarity. Clarity is a trap because until you put what you've seen and learned into action and some sort, then you're just a clown. You're just philosophizing. You have to activate. You have to step into your power, and that's when you discover the third enemy. So I've stepped into my power because I've learned the gate of power. I've learned how to do lucid traveling and communicate on a level that isn't typical. I've moved past the clarity part. I am a novice in the realm of power, and it will take the rest of my life to even begin to come to terms with how incredible we are. So I'm beginning that process of unlocking the limitations, and that's power. So power is an enemy, and I will be, at some point in the distant future, moving from that into a much more difficult challenger, which is old age, right? That's the real deal. That's where you determine whether a warrior is, worth their all the signs and omens that came along, and to see if they're going to make it. No, there's no guarantees, you guys. If there was just something that's naturally going to happen, then there would be no pressure, no intensity. So anybody that says this is my last time here and I'm going, no, that's not guaranteed, you guys. What is guaranteed is that the future already exists, and that our future self is calling us to where we're going, and that this is a memory. But until you reach the third attention intact with your awareness, can you say that that was your last round? At least that's my gnosis on that. So everything's organic, everything's changing, everything's constantly being done. We've done this over and over and over. That's why the deja vu and the familiarity is we've played this out over and over and over. It's like wargaming. They keep having to make us play it over and over and over and over and over, because it never goes the way they want it to. And they keep trying new systems. So whoever has a hold of the rewind button, the architect of the matrix is just sort of put it on a program. So when it doesn't achieve the results it wants, it just starts over and tries a different system, and it just keeps the slightest little adjustments each time. And so we're eternal beings that are being put through this extreme non-linear intensity over and over and over and over and over and over. It's like deep inception stuff. It's like, for us to surface, we're gonna have to wake each other up. I'm a part of that. You're a part of that. There's other people that are a part of that. But all those that are unconscious and maintaining something else are in place for a reason and serve as a critical buffer for us in this wargaming, in this process. So even though this thing has a hold of the rewind button and we keep having to do this, we're gaining knowledge every time. And for some reason, this particular time, something unique is going to happen. I don't wish to know more. I'm open. I actually prefer to be surprised, and I'm excited about all the possibilities and the different feelings that will come in. But what I want for you guys is to drink sunlight, and to know how to get it into your system so that you're healing. And then I want you to be able to sit in the darkness and not avoid it, and look at it. Because if you look in the dark, you'll look at yourself. You'll feel and see and know the self, and this incredible feeling will come over you. It's a breakthrough. It's the womb. Put yourself in the womb. Go to, whether it's a sweat lodge or your own personal space. But I promise silence isn't scary once you're willing to be silent for longer periods of time. It's become so healing. At first, it's confronting because the monkey mind shows up, and you're like, "Oh my God, I'm fucked up." Because you just avoid that. You're like, "Oh, I'm go back to my phone and distract myself." But microdosing or something to get past that is key. We're not here to talk to ourselves. That's the possession. We're all possessed, you guys. We're all under possession by a force that makes us talk to ourselves all day long. It prompts us to, at least. You don't have to listen to it. So I stopped feeding that force as much as I can up until now, and I still have a long way to go. But it's changed my life tremendously. I don't have real judgment anymore of others. It's more just interest and curiosity. I speak to strangers and have lots of doors open. I hope people show up in my reality to give me messages. Everything's a message. Every person's a teacher. And when you see that, things start to speed up. And you start to have a better speed of clarity. You start to it's like being psychic. You can start to tell, what the person's going to say before they say it. I went to a therapist once, and he told me, Yeah, I used to be bipolar or whatever because I knew that because I could tell what people were gonna say before they said it, and then they would say exactly the thing I said. So I knew I was mentally ill. Like, okay, that's funny. That's not mental illness. That's you know, that's a gift. That's a really unique and incredible thing, and it happens to me all the time. Um, and it's not like I'm guessing what they're gonna say. It's like they say words that I know they're gonna say, and they're not normal words that they would normally like. It's just I pick up on it. So there's a lot to benefit from in this process as the known that which we think we know is no longer as solid, and that the unknown and the abstract feelings start to pour in. This will unlock you guys from the density in which you're bound by, and so you'll be able to become more expansive. It's a delicate thing though. You don't want to blast yourself open with power plants, because then you end up being possessed, or all these energies show up and interfere with you. So you want to do this in a sober way. You can use power plants, but you kind of have to be in your power if you're going to do that. Um, and so our luminous fibers, they're either super tight, the way our cocoon is structured, or it's like open, or it's like open, right? And so if it's too tight, it becomes rigid and it can break. Like it'll just like break, in ways that it's not meant to. It's just a like, I don't know how to explain that, but um and then you want it like a tensegrity structure, like a tree that can open and close. So the whole point of the magical passes that they teach is to expand and contract, expand, contract. So there's different ways in which we do that through movement. And there's ways to redirect energies, grab energies around our cocoon and redistribute it to different parts of our cocoon. And this will bring the necessary balance so that you're not too rigid or not too loose. It has to be always sort of flow. Always. Um, which is to live in a constant state of awareness rather than to let yourself sort of go to sleep or shut down or go into autopilot. And so this is what wakes you up. That's why the movements are so powerful. Especially if you go do them at Clear Green, at their workshops, thousands or hundreds of people all at the same time. It used to be thousands. All the cool shit is barely being supported because people have become so unable of doing deep work. They're unable to like learn stuff in the depths. They become so distracted that they need quick little lessons. They're not willing to like sort of change their life to learn an art. They're more focused on, getting the right amount of money to make sure they have enough vacations and that their boyfriend thinks that their dresses are pretty. And it's a hard reality to realize that we're not very focused, powerful people. And so these powerful martial arts and things that are more of the abstract kind are becoming less and less supported. But that doesn't mean they'll go away. And in fact, it's kind of a cool factor, but as they will remain, and they will become critical and huge and powerful means for us to transition from being really dense people to abstract people. So the abstract stuff's going to make a comeback. It's just right now it's kind of collapsing. But it'll come back in a unique way. It'll probably sort of change hands in a sense. The people that chose to get vaccinated and that aren't aware of what they did and aren't willing to kind of look at it are going to have a difficult time continuing to carry whatever they've been carrying, whether it's knowledge or power. We're just in a strange time where if you're going along with the lies Um, unless you're willing to come to terms with it and admit it, then you're going to be trying to maintain something, a narrative that's unmaintainable. You have to let it go, because if you go along with the narrative, you'll get thrown off a cliff. That's what's happening. The media is taking everybody with them. Um, it's really wicked, you guys. It's really, really powerful and wicked. But what an incredible thing to witness once you come to terms with the inversion and you're able to see it for what it is, and you're no longer questioning it. It's a lot to look at. And so abstract, powerful, beautiful healing systems are in place. I look forward to all of you finding your deep desire to move beyond what it is that has been doing it for you, because what's been doing it for you isn't going to do it for you forever. You're being called out of your comfort zone in order to go and have a much more expansive journey. Take the journey. Accept the invitation. Let the universe know you want in, because that's what you are. You are a probe of the universe, and the universe is seeking expansion, and you are a scout. And anything that you gain, any kind gesture that you offer to this insane inversion, it echoes through eternity, and it ripples and affects the whole. So help a stranger, give love to those that don't have it. Move beyond your comfort zone and access your source connection through sunlight, through forest bathing, through getting in that ocean, through climbing that tree, and really feeling it. These are simple things. You can jump into the sorcery stuff too and do all kinds of incredible ways to connect. But if you haven't done these basic things, you definitely want to heal your heart before you get yourself involved in a bunch of intense shamanic work. So let's start there. Amazing, you guys. I hope you all have an incredible days ahead, and look forward to connecting soon. Okay, be well.